under that community development is Shea Homes, St. John Seminary, General Plan Amendment 2007-3 referral status report. Do you have a report? Joe?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor Little and members of the City Council. On January 14th, the City Council requested that a status update be provided on General Plan Amendment Application 2007-3, which is the original application of Shea Homes for a general plan amendment on the land associated with St. John's Seminary. A brief history includes that on January 24th, 2007, the City Council referred this Shea GPA application. Staff proceeded to work with the applicant on preparation of materials to work towards an environmental impact report, and on June 27th of 2008, a notice of preparation of a draft EIR was prepared. Following that, specific plan preparation commenced, and the project description was updated. So subsequently, on February 19, 2013, a second notice of preparation for a draft EIR was prepared. And then work on the draft EIR continued, but was never finalized for public review. The project description continued to evolve, and studies were commenced and analyzed and refined. And ultimately, Shea put the project on hold as a result of the economic downturn. Then recently in this past summer, Shea updated their market analysis and pro formas and provided staff with some preliminary concepts for a modified project. A new project description is being formulated, and once that is established, it would restart the environmental review process. This is an aerial photograph of the subject property, which is just north of Upland Road, just east of Lewis Road, and just west of the existing Pinnacle residential neighborhood. And you'll notice Padre Sarah Parish down kind of towards the bottom of the aerial photograph. So the subject site is all of the land that is located east of the existing St. John's Seminary Theology campus. The college was closed, and Shea Homes has been working with the Archdiocese on a potential land development, which would include the general plan amendment. This highlights the bulk of the analysis and information provided in your staff report, which is a comparison of the original proposed project that Shea began working on in 2007, which originally was for a range of 390 to 430 total residential units. It was a mix of densities, which included attached and detached housing products, and they were all 2- and 3-story product types with 2-car garages and guest parking. The original concept was open to all traditional retail housing markets. It was non-gated, and it had a centralized amenity for residents. The new concept that they're working on and formulating at this time is for a range of 270 to 290 residential units. It's a mix of traditional detached single-family homes. And since staff drafted the staff report, the information that Shea provided in the staff report indicated that all units are detached. They've since updated their concept to include some attached cluster housing, which would be a duplex product. All the units remain in the concept to be 1-story with some pop-up bonus space, but all functional living would be done on a 1-story floor plan. And all of the proposed concept units would have 2-car garages with additional guest parking spaces. The new concept is for a age-restricted community that would be open to seniors 55 and older. It would be gated, and it also includes a centralized amenity for residents with walking trails and additional open space pocket parks. Kevin Harbison, the Community Development Manager with Shea Homes, is going to provide a presentation of the current project concept, and so I'll be turning it over to him so he can give you some more updated information on what their ideas are at this point.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. My name is Kevin Harbison. I'm Community Development Manager with Shea Homes.
Thank you.
Okay.
It is. Go to the next slide.
Good evening, council members. And
Please
thank you for the
bring the microphone.
thank you for the opportunity to allow me to address you today regarding our updated conceptual plan for the St. John Seminary property. At this time, I'd like to emphasize this is our conceptual vision for the property. We have not submitted any formal applications to the city. The goal of the seminary development, it's important to kind of understand the seminary's stance on this. And really, they're looking to repurpose the defunct section of the seminary property that was formerly used for an undergraduate campus to enhance their endowment for the graduate campus. Right now, they receive a subsidy from the LA Archdiocese to run that graduate campus, and they'd like to gain independence from that subsidy and become self-sufficient. And with that, I kind of want to jump into the current vision that we've been working with the seminary over the last 6 to 8 months. It was important for us to really try to find a use that was compatible with the seminary, and we landed on active adult lifestyle concept. This would be an age-restricted concept, 55 and up requirement, and I'm not going to get into too much of the active adult. We have reasons for wanting to go that direction, but what I will do is kind of hit the highlights. Active adult, we feel there's a big opportunity there for people in the immediate vicinity to take advantage of this type of development. It's not necessarily a traditional retirement community that a lot of us think of, very, very large communities, a lot of times based around a golf course or other large amenities. This is a very small boutique type of development. The customers for this type of development are looking to downsize and simplify, redirect monthly expenses, maybe get out of a bigger house or whatnot. Social component and retain family connections are very important as well. There's an amenity that's featured, and with our particular development, I want to get into the architecture types. We're proposing single-family detached, cluster home mortar court detached, and we're also proposing a hybrid cluster, which will have the duplex attached with a detached in the front of the cluster. This is a good example of an actual development down in Orange County that utilizes the cluster development. The benefits, these slides really highlight the benefits. I know I'm running short of time here. And I just want to show the conceptual site plan before I run out of time. So this is what we're looking at over that area at this time. Again, we're in the range of about 270 to 290 units. We have not really gotten too detailed with that at this point. We're still in the conceptual process, so we'll continue to work to refine to come to an actual unit count. I have additional perspectives if you care to see them at this point, but I've seemed to have run out of time.
Okay. Is there any questions by the council of Mr. Harbison before?
Catch me up a little bit. Where is the seminary?
The seminary would be to the top of the picture, the actual institutional buildings to the top of the photo.
In the gray type area.
Correct. Right there.
Okay.
And then down in the lower left-hand corner, that's Padre Sarah Parish.
I have a question, Bill, when you're
Yeah. Kevin?
I don't know if this is Kevin by the way, that's a great first name.
Thank you.
I don't know if this is a question for you, but the entrance and exit of that, is that been developed yet? Is that?
Well, we have a proposed entrance exit that's actually adjoining the existing Padre Sarah Parish. There's an exit driveway in that location that we're proposing our entrance. We would actually propose to close that and reorient it and basically combine it with our entry. But we haven't nailed down any details on that yet.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Bill.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. We may call you back.
Thanks again.
Sure. Joe, do you have any other comments?
I would just like to please request that the City Council provide direction to staff regarding the general plan amendment referral at this time. That's staff's recommended action.
Okay. Any questions?
I have a question to Joe.
Yes, Kevin.
So we're just asked to provide some direction tonight as far as a proposal.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that correct, Joe? And I noticed that the first proposal, goes back, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, Joe. But it was for, I believe, about 400 units, and this one's for about 290 units.
Correct.
Now, are they spacing them differently? Are they, and I know this is pretty conceptual here, but did they just kind of narrow the scope, or does it look like they want some more open space here, or is there anything that you can ascertain for?
We don't have a formal application
Yeah.
submitted, so we haven't had time to conduct a thorough analysis.
Yeah.
I would say upon a cursory review, the density appears to have been reduced in this concept. If you just do the math of the number of units on approximately 90 acres, it comes out to about a density of 3 units to the acre. And that's less than what was originally proposed.
Now, I haven't been up on this this property in a number of years. Is it being used for anything right now, as far as you know?
No, it's not. I was on site about a month ago with the applicant and Mr. Burrow. And so the existing seminary campus is pretty much vacant, and there's some deferred maintenance relative to some of the vegetation and materials out there. So it's not really in use at this time. There are some orchards that are still look to be irrigated, but there are other areas that do have deferred maintenance.
Are the structures still there?
They're there, but they're vacant.
And around those structures, as I recall, they did have, I think it was some citrus trees there, either orange or lemon trees. Was that what?
That is correct. There is a mix of some citrus orchards, and I believe in some areas some avocado as well.
Joe, do you know if they're irrigating it or watering it at any?
In some areas it did appear to be irrigated, and others it was fallow.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments, questions?
Have comments.
Yes. Okay.
I had asked for this agenda item because, for a couple of reasons. One of them being the fact that this thing's been out there for 7 years, which to me is something we need to talk about too. Then we have projects staying out there for that long, out on the referral piece. But also the fact that I had gone to the, I guess it was the initial public meeting that they had for residents in the area, and learned that it was going off in a total different direction than what we had heard before. So it seemed to me that before we, the applicant spent any more time or money, that we ought to step back and look at it again 7 years later and see if indeed the timing was right, and if the need was there, or even the desire for such a project, rather than continuing on for a few more years. Because the way my understanding is, they've really got to go back and do a lot more work, because one, they've changed the project, and two, it's been 7 years since they started it all. So that was the reason for asking for it. And I think there's a couple of important things here that we need to take into consideration. We need to decide whether the city needs this at this point in time. And as we all heard at our last meeting, we have housing to meet our housing needs, zoning and those that are already out there under construction, and all the different phases to last us to 2021. So we don't need to do this project to meet any of our housing requirements. So then it gets down to, is it something that's desirable, or is there another reason to do this? And I think from sitting through the meeting with the residents, the surrounding residents, they brought up so many questions that I'm not sure it's the right time. I think we've got some real traffic issues down there when somebody asks a question about how to get in and out of the project. So I really think that my suggestion would be, and in fact I will make a motion, that we bring this back to consider rescinding the referral, because I don't really think it's the time in the city's life for this project. I don't think the need is there right now, and I think we have so much going on, our planning department, all the things that they have, we really do not need this project at this point in time, and I think it's just wise to deal with it now rather than spending more time or money on it.
Okay. Yes, Charlotte.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd read this in terms of an update. I hadn't read it in terms of whether we want to bring it back to consider rescinding. I think if we brought it back, it would certainly be to consider whether we wanted to continue it or rescind it, not just rescind
I'll
it.
tell you my.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think we have to be open. I also think that this is an opportunity to request that the policy committee or an ad hoc committee or somebody take a look at these things that have been out there so long. Callegas Creek was out there for so long. And then this one had nothing. I know in all the years I've been on the council, I only remember one that we brought back and actually shut down because no work had been done on it, and that was the McGrath stuff out by the airport. We had, isn't that right, Mike?
Yes.
We had referred it, and they did nothing. They didn't deposit any money or anything else, and after about 8 or 9 years, we brought it back and said, you know, it's time to get this off the list, because we're always looking at how much work staff has to do, so if there's no work being done on it, take it off the list. So we did that. But I think we need a process so that after a certain length of time, especially of dead time, if it's taking somebody, if they've discovered faults and they're trenching and it takes a lot longer than normal, but they're active, that's one thing. But this languished for years. So I don't object to bringing it back, but I certainly would need more detail on what they wanted to do than 3 minutes worth before I could make a decision.
Mr. Morgan?
Now, this is one of those kind of get you from both sides, because the first project they brought in, this is not the same project. Not at all.
No.
This is not even close. The other one
Yes,
was,
no, it is.
you had multiple housing units up next to the seminary. You would have caused a lot more traffic. They've improved it, but they've taken their time. In the meantime, other housing units throughout the city have put themselves in line to be for points. And so this one, in my opinion, would come again at the end of that line, and we have 6 years of 6 years of allotments out there to give out. You know, 400 a year times 6. You know, that puts us about what we've got out there, and they would have to wait anyway. I think I wouldn't mind bringing this back to discuss it, but we also consider: do we need to continue it until another time? Another time, maybe it's not the time for that housing project. It's much improved. I got to tell you, it's much improved. You've left a lot of green space. I think the parishioners at Padre Serra, where I go, are happier, and weren't happy last time. But this might make them happier. But I think timing might be a key to this.
Your Honor, can I throw out a motion and then we can discuss that
Can
motion?
I make
Oh,
my
I'm
comments,
sorry.
please, before any motions? I have some knowledge of this. I was involved through Padre Serra Parish as an information process back when it first came forward. And we've got to keep in mind what the intent of this whole project is about. And that is that the seminary is now being subsidized by the Archdiocese of Los Angeles to the tune of a couple $1 million or more. Money which, frankly, I understand the Archdiocese doesn't really readily have. So the idea was to sell off the 90 acres to Shea. Shea, in turn, would pay all the development cost, and at the end of that process would, after some project had been approved on that project, on that land, would then have an appraisal made of the value of that land as ready for development, and that is the amount of money he would put into a endowment fund for the maintenance of the seminary, which could be substantial. And that was the whole thrust behind that project. Plus the fact they have a college that's been closed for about 15 years now. And is falling apart and needs to be something done to the buildings. So that was the idea behind that project. I agree with Councilman Morgan that this is much improved from what the original plan was. And keep in mind that while we've had projects of a variety of projects in the interim years, we haven't had a adult senior project such as this. In fact, I don't think there's one like this in town. This is different from Leisure Village. It's different from some of the others that are being talked about, but it will serve a particular population of this city.
Same thing.
And one that is not being served with the type of housing that we're talking about here. So I don't mind talking about it further, but I, like the rest of them, I'm not interested in saying at this point in time that we don't want to give any thought to this thing. So,
Connor, can I make a
yeah,
comment?
sure.
Yeah, I don't have enough. I don't think anybody has enough information tonight. This is at first blush for me that I've seen this. You got to look at what happened. I'm a business owner too, and what happened in 2007 and 2008 with the recession. There was a number of builders that were that close to being bankrupt in the country, and specifically in our city here as well. So the first proposal that they got, of course, it's going to be probably much different today than what it was then. But I think we do need some more information on this. Perhaps we don't want to do this for a number of years. I don't know. I don't have enough information to make any determination on this. But I think the process, we do need to look at whether or not we have these things in the hopper for a number of years and where they're going and what the potential for them to work out or not. And, you talk 6 or 7 years is probably a long, but the world has changed a lot then. And yes, you're right, Bill, that this is an opportunity for the LA Archdiocese to fund the, what do they call, not the college, but the other one that's up there. And I believe in the original grant, theology, the original grant, I believe, said that the theology does have to stay in perpetuity. I believe that was part of the grant and one of the reasons why they were able to get it, I believe, from the Camarillo family, did mention that there will be a seminary of some sort somewhere on that project and that property up there.
It will remain that way, or it'll go back to the Camarillo family?
Or go back to the Camarillo family, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Your Honor, can I throw out a motion, and I think it's pretty general that we direct staff to bring this item back for review, to review the general plan amendment referral for the Shea project and to consider options on that referral.
I'll second that.
Nice and general. And
Okay. Been a motion to option to bring it back with to discuss the project and the options thereof. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I'm referring, we're going to discuss the general plan referral, because
Right.
that's really what we have the.
Exactly. All right. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries 5-0.
And may I add one more thing to add on the list that we need to hear about? Obviously, we want to hear more about the project. From what they were saying at the public meeting, it sounded like the funding arrangement may have changed as well. So we need an update on that if
a
that's
good
going to
point.
help you
If it
base
has,
your decision.
We should have what's the latest arrangements between the Archdiocese and the developer. Okay. Nothing more.